Hello folks, my name is Ed Overstreet and welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel, where we'll be going over some processing steps that I use for the sun, and especially doing a solar time lapse. So let's get started, and I'll meet you back at the pass. First, let's just kind of review the steps that I use in the software, and then we'll get into the actual processing that I did uh, a few days ago. And I did that in a live stream. And as promised, I said I would go over putting together a time lapse. So here are the steps. Uh, Once I have captured sufficient number of videos, I'll take those videos into Autostakkert, and then that software will do a batch calibration, stack, and convert the AVI or the SCR files to TIFFs. And I usually take somewhere between 200 to 1,000 frame AVI files, and then I keep 10 to 15%. Now, what determines how many I'm going to take? And it's not just arbitrary. Um, if the scene is rated to be good, a scene of a rating of 5, and you can get that from various software programs and applications specific to your location. And so if it looks as though it's a 5, and I usually run a couple of test images before I ever start. As a matter of fact, I take several as I kind of take a trip around the sun and look at various uh, items, various things that are going on the surface of the sun and on the rim of the sun, trying to find the best place to end up in framing my time lapse. So if the scene is rated 5 and it looks to be very good, then I'll take somewhere around 200 to 500 images, and I'll keep between 10 and 15%. If the scene is just not really that good, then I'm going to take more, maybe 1,000. I'll never take more than 1,000. And again, based on scene, I will up the frames the poorer the scene is. And the reason for that is that if I'm going to keep 10 or 15% of 1,000, I'm going to get the very best in the poor scene that my camera and telescope's capable of resolving. And if the scene is exceptional, then I can keep 10 to 15% of 200 or 300 frames and get an equally good TIFF file from Autostakkert. So I will also add that Autostakkert takes by far the longest of these process steps. And if you can imagine software that's working on a not so fast laptop. In fact, we'll be working off of this laptop back here in the corner on the left in my observatory. We'll be working on that laptop because I am currently on an iMac, and my software doesn't run on an iMac, so I have to connect through Wi-Fi to this laptop. So we'll be going to this laptop and processing this on a very slow processor. And if Autostakkert can take 1,000 frames and examine each one of those frames, keeping the 10 or 15% from the align points that I have picked, and go through the process of stacking, calibrating the flats, then crazy, crazy awesome software. And can you imagine trying to do that in Photoshop? Adding layer after layer after layer of frame and aligning them and fixing the geography, really, of the geometry of each picture. And I know for a fact if I took 150 to 200 files and tried to do that in Photoshop, the file would be 500-600 megabytes, if not a gigabyte. So Autostakkert's able to do that and create a TIFF file that's extremely manageable. So it takes a long time. You drink coffee, you take a break, you cut the yard, you go to the mall. You can do a lot of different things, but you may be spending, depending on how many AVI files you're stacking, but you may be talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 hours for Autostakkert to run its course. Be patient, it's worth it. Then once I have TIFF files, then I'll bring those into ImPPG, where I will do batch sharpening and I will run an alignment. Now, I haven't blinked or I haven't gone through and reviewed these files yet. That comes next, because I will then bring those into PixInsight. And for me, I don't have PixInsight on this laptop. It's got limited space. And so what I do is I have a little external drive, hard drive, that both goes out to my solar scope, and also I bring it in and I work on the files here, as we will do, and then I'll take the files and I'll connect it to my iMac in order to run PixInsight. So I'm trying to use the software that works, but it involves using Windows and using a Mac for me, because I'm going to sit down at my computer where I'm the most comfortable and where I make these videos, and where my streaming software is Mac only. And so I got to use both. So it looks a little complicated, but if you're seeing me run a Windows program, a Windows only software program like ImPPG or Autostakkert on a Mac, well, I'm not. I'm running it on a Windows machine connected through Wi-Fi. So in PixInsight, I will now blink the images and get rid of the ones that are just eyeball rejects. And then if I'm going to crop the image, I'll do it then, and I'll do it on a batch basis, as well as I'll batch colorize. If I add any further sharpening, I doubt that I will, but you can. And if you want to run linear fit, you can match exposures. But I have found that if your luminosity changes much over the course of your time lapse, if the brightness levels of the sun change from frame to frame, you will have an ugly time lapse. It may align perfectly. You may see all the good action that you want to see, but if the exposures haven't been matched, then you're going to have this kind of color light flicker that just kind of ruins the time lapse. But this takes a little more time to run linear fit. It's much easier to do in Photoshop, in Adobe's Lightroom. So we'll look at this video, or we'll look at these TIFF files after we have ran Autostakkert and sharpened and batch aligned, and then brought into PixInsight. And we'll look at whether we're going to be using Lightroom or PixInsight. We'll make that decision in order to do the time lapse. And if I have a lot of color and light variation from frame to frame, from TIFF file to TIFF file, when I blink, then I'm probably going to exit out of PixInsight, open Lightroom, and do everything else: batch crop, colorize, further sharpen, and max exposure levels. I'll probably do the rest of that in Lightroom because it's so much easier to do that. In fact, Lightroom's a breeze to use for this. But some people don't have PixInsight. Some people don't have Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom. So I may try to do it in both in this video so that if you have one or the other, you'll be able to create your time lapses. Once we've done that and we've saved these files, then we're going to open ImPPG again and do another final alignment if necessary. And how will we know if it's necessary? Well, we'll have a pretty good idea when we blink through these images very quickly if there's any movement. Because in PixInsight's blink, one of the advantages of using that over Lightroom is that you can set the blink rate to, say, 20 frames per second, and you can play those files, and you can kind of tell whether there's movement that was going to require another alignment. Then we'll go back into ImPPG and do the final alignment. If not, then we're going to go right into PIPP, and we're going to make our movie. And for me, I make a GIF file because if it's worth a flip, I'll probably put it on Astrobin. And that's relative. If it's worth a flip relative what I'm capable of doing, I'll put it on Astrobin. And one of the interesting things about doing this hobby is I go back and look at some of the pictures I put on Astrobin when I first started doing this, and I thought they were so good at the time. I was so proud, and I had every right to be, and you do too. Every time you do one of these, you have every right to be proud of it. Can you imagine what we're doing? Goodness gracious, we're setting up gear to capture photons that have been traveling for hundreds of millions of years in many cases, sometimes billions of years. And then we're converting those photons into electrons using our camera's technology, and we're creating an image. And then we're taking multiple images and we're processing that into one picture. And we're extracting colors that have been traveling for those time frames, and it's remarkable that we're able to get anything at all. So pat yourself on the back if you're able to get an image and post it and share it. But again, I get a kick out of some of the ones I thought were so good, and I know for sure that as the years pass, if I'm still here, I'm kind of an old guy, but in the next 5 years, assuming I'm capable of continuing this hobby, that even cameras are going to change and add probably some improvements, as I think they have over the last 10 years since I've been doing this. But at any rate, I don't know, I digress. These are the steps. So from that, let's get started and head over to the laptop, and we will begin this process of creating a time lapse. So where is my laptop? And there we go. So you should be seeing what I'm seeing. Actually, I'm seeing some things you're not seeing because I have streaming software that has windows open that I'm trying to shut down. All right, let's go outside to the planetary. I say outside. This is the hard drive that I have connected to the laptop behind me, but it's the same hard drive that I connect to my telescopes. This is my solar scope that I use, and so we'll head back to I think I'll head back to the screen. Okay, this is our directory, and this is our AVI files that we took. Now, I've already processed this, and I kept 20%. Nope. I kept 25%. Kip. Okay. But I have already processed this, but these are the video files. And so what we're going to do is we're going to load one into Autostakkert. And we're bringing Autostakkert up. And actually, we don't load one. We're going to load them all. And that's how you do the batch. And it will load every single solitary one of them. So they are ready to run and process one right after the other. And so all you have to do is process one the way you like it, and it will apply those settings to the subsequent videos that have been uploaded. But I, in reality, have already done this. So what I'm going to do is go back and just open up one and show you how I'm going to process it. Now, I'm assuming your understanding is that normally I would have all of them opened. I'm only opening one because I don't really need for this thing to go through 3 or 4 hours of processing again. So here are my settings. They're coming up because these were the settings I used the last time I did this, which was probably this one. Surface, improved tracking, cropped, Lapse, local, and I have noise robust set at 5, by the way. You can vary this and see how you like it. Don't vary it on batch, vary it on one, and then apply it to the batch. Auto size, we kept 25% of the files, and so normally I don't make that election until after I've gone through a scrub, but let's and also evaluated the scene throughout the imaging session. So let's go ahead and analyze, and this takes a second. Okay, it's completed the first phase of processing, which is analyzing each of the frames, and you can come up here and start scrubbing through this to see how your frames look, and you can use your arrow key as you go through this. Now, Autostakkert will do a good job of picking the top 25% or whatever percent you choose. But as you go through these, and I would suggest when you get a sharp one, and I think this looks pretty good here. I didn't go through all of them, but this looks, actually that looks a little better. Then you'll come over here and set your align points. Now, placing the align point grid can be done automatically, and I usually do that. I pick either, depending on the target, and this the sun as opposed to the moon as opposed to planets. But I'll either pick 48 or in this case probably 104. And so I like it, but I'm going to go back to 48. And you can up this any way you want. You can do 40, 56, 64. Let's try that. And so maybe that's a little better. So, and as I understand it, these are pixel sizes, 64 pixels by 64 pixels. So we've placed the grid, and let's do one thing. Let's clear this out, and I want to do one other thing. You notice that I have these dust spots, and this is not a sunspot. This is something on the sensor. This is something on either the chromosphere or the IR UV cut filter, but it's on the optical train somewhere. I doubt it's on the telescope element. That's just too far away, but it isn't on the sensor. The real sharp and defined dealies here, that's your sensor issue. Sometimes smudges won't show up like this on a sensor, but you should never have smudges on your sensor, but it will get dirt. And for most people, there's a protective glass over your sensor, or most cameras. So at any rate, we want to get rid of that. So I made a flat frame. And in fact, let's do this. Let's go to Open, and let's go back. Should have done this earlier. Solar. Okay, let's open that up, and let's go to flat. And I took two AVIs. Let's just pick one. And there's my flat frame. And really all I did was focus on, or move to the middle of the sun, just to include in the frame the entire sun. And I defocused about 1,000 steps using the Moonlight focuser. And so you see these bands, these Newton rings. Even though I have a tilt adapter, it isn't set right. And then I have these dust motes, and there's that dirt. And so, yeah, on the sensor. So what I want to do is I want to create a calibration file. So I'll go to Image Calibration, create a master frame. Now I already created one, but we'll call this master frame 2. Now I have 2, because as I said, I already processed this. And so it's saving it. And now I have my flat frame. So now let's go back again, and let's head back to our captures. And we'll pick the first one again, and we're going to have to analyze it again. How do you got to buckle down? There's my coffee. Here you go, pee pee, Charlie. That was my bad, the kids would say. Are they starting to work on our yard next door, do concrete? Mm-hmm. Nah, not yet. I put you on pause because it took 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes to do this. So, but it's done and it's applied the settings. So I did mention that, and I'll show you while I'm up here, that let's close this out. Let's close this out. This isn't a perfect science, but you can do linear fit where, let's bring up two images from, let's just pick the ones we just did, for example. These two images. And so we have two images up, and we're going to use this first image here as this is the 2592. So we're going to use that as our reference image, and we're going to drag this to this image, and it will match the luminosity exactly. So then you can go down to your History Explorer and find this image, which is 2592. Nope, we did it on 2585, and where you have this process, and then you drag all the other images. Let's just go ahead and do it. You drag all the other images in like we did before. So let's minimize these two. We need them because if we delete them, it won't be able to do the application. And let's bring up our image container and our process container again. We don't need this process anymore, so let's delete this one. And let's go down here to 2585. That's the one we did it to. And no, we didn't. Which one did we do it to? 2592. 25. It was 2585. Oh, I got rid of. All right, let's do it again. Let me go ahead and keep those open. Guys, I'm cracking up here. Linear fit, we got to leave that open. And so let's take the 2592 image and let's load that. And let's drag this over to the 85 image, which we did. And so we matched the color. Now, let's go down here in our History Explorer and let's, hang on a minute, History Explorer, and let's apply the last one there. Get rid of that so we have a linear fit. Now we need to minimize these again. Let's leave linear fit out and open. Let's take our process container. Now we got to add the files we just did. And we added them to planetary, June, crop. So these are the ones we wanted. So these are all batch, sharpened, cropped, and we need a new output directory. So we're going to call this one new folder. We're going to call this 3 pix-linear fit. So we have added linear fit, and we got our new directory, and we're going to also cut the file name a little shorter. and that should do it. And then we're just going to drag our images into this process container and let it work its magic. I may run out of space creating a whole set of this. All right, it finished doing the linear fit, and then I tried to delete the planetarium, that external hard drive, and it required that I force eject, so I sure hope I didn't lose anything. But let's now go back into ImPPG. I'm back on my laptop. We're going to find out real quick. And we don't need the curves. We're going to go to Tools now and Align Image Sequence. Don't you love ImPPG? It does the curves, the sharpening, and the alignment. So let's add our files. Keep your fingers crossed. Let's see. We want to go to Planetary, June, and that what we're going? No, here we go. Okay, and so what we did, we had Autostakkert, kept 25%. We did ImPPG, where we sharpened our images and ran curves. We went into Pix and we did a color, a crop, an unsharp mask, and we should have went ahead and done linear fit, but it takes a long time to apply the linear fit. Sometimes it won't apply it to some frames because of geometry problems, and so I usually, but we ran it. You can try it or you can delete it. And so this is what we have. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay, there's our files. So we want to open each one of them. And so here are our files. And you can add a bounding box and it won't crop your image, but I just choose to add to crop to an intersection, and it sometimes does cause you to lose some action if you had action close to any of the edges. And we're going to create a new program to a new place to save it. We don't want to save it in linear fit, so let's go back up and create a new folder. And this new folder is going to be called Align ImPPG ALIGN. And that's where we're going to do it. That's all you have to do, and you start processing. And it's going to take it a few minutes. I'll put you on pause. We have 163 images to do this with, but as it scrolls across, I'll put you on pause. It's going to take a couple minutes. Alright, it's finishing up and it's completed. So we can close out of here. We don't need this any longer unless we have some erratic behavior, and we may have to realign. And so we're going to see if we can get by without having to realign. So I'm going to go down here and bring up Pipp. It's time to create our movie. And you can play around with these settings, but my advice is to leave all of these settings to default with a few exceptions. Let's add our image files. We're going to go down here. And we want to go to June. We want to go to Align. Hopefully, they're all one pixel on top of the other. And we're going to get a little window here that we don't really need. Looks like that in the process of doing this, we lost some of our action over here. So the crop has cost me a little action over here, it looks like. But it is what it is. You can go back and recrop those. Let's see. First thing we want to do is come over to animation options. And this is my preference. You can choose to do this or not. I want to play all frames in reverse order after they have played in forward order. So it just has the appearance that this is continuing on and on and on. And that's the only change I make there. I'm going to go to output options, and I'm going to select animated GIF. I'm going to pick 30 frames per second, and I'm going to go for the maximum quality. Again, I'm probably affecting the file size, which it's already a large file. And there's going to be a delay when you put it on AstroBin because it has to download, and it is what it is. But that's all I'm going to change here. I want maximum quality, 30 frames, animated, and we'll create a subdirectory in our source directory. I could create a whole new place for this, but I'm just going to leave it in the align file. And so let's do processing, and you'll go up here and hit start. Okay, it completed, and it will open up a folder with our logs, and it opened it up in, I could have created a new directory 5 with Pipp, but I got lazy and I just left it here in the align. I have a feeling I'm going to have to align it again, but let's open it up, double click on it, and oh wow, we had some cool stuff up here. I lost some stuff, but well, linear fit didn't do a very good job. I still see some luminosity change. And there you have it. You can see the sun rotating, which it does. And so you see the movement of the sun. And there you have it. Some activity on the rim down here. This monster. When you think of the Earth being about, it's 25,000 miles around at the equator, the circumference, and if you take pi into that, that's about 7,500, 8,000 miles in diameter. The Earth is. So you figure you can put Earth inside this, an Earth-sized planet inside this sunspot. Well, it'd probably be just a little bit bigger than that sunspot. So it'd be like 10,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 miles high. Think about that. Maybe 100,000 miles high. This ejection has shot out in space. There's a violent one here, an angry one. Okay, folks. Well, that's pretty much it. The only thing I intend to do is to open up Lightroom in another video and show you another way that you can match exposures pretty easily. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that real quick. Let me, I'll just show you where the feature is. I don't want Bridge, I want Lightroom. And I just clicked on Bridge too, so it's going to open. Let's get rid of Bridge. We've got too many programs open. Where are you, bridge? All right. So we're in Lightroom, and I'll just stay here. I'm a sports photographer by profession, so let's just go find. Let's take these two pictures right here. Let's keep them in library mode. Oh, don't clock on me. All right, let's take this picture right here, and let's take this picture right here first, and let's drop the exposure down. Let's make it worse. So, I clicked on both at the same time. Let's bring this one up. Let's just go on live to develop. Be easier to do it. All right, I'm going to bring the exposure back up on this one. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to leave the exposure down. All right, now I'm going to go into library because that's where the opportunity to match exposures is. And I'm going to go to edit. Is it in edit or metadata? So we want to do this one. And I'm not sure where it is now. Metadata, edit presets, edit capture time, copy. Photo. Edit library, edit. View. Is it in the develop mode? Maybe it is in develop. I was thinking it was in settings. Well, I've lost the darn thing. I gotta scoot up here so I can read it. Here it is. Now, why isn't it letting me do it? Match total exposure. Huh. Oh, I gotta click on 2. All right, I got 2 here. So I'm gonna go to settings, and I'm gonna go down here and click on match total exposures. It's been a while since I've done it in this. So this is highlighted. It's a brighter color it's brighter than this one is. So I'm gonna take this one. This looks dark too. It is dark, and this one's dark. So I'm gonna take this one, and I'm gonna hold down, and I'm gonna select all of those, and I'm gonna click on what was it? Settings, match total exposures, and it will change all these exposures to match this one. So what you do is you load your sun pictures, and you set this one, the very first one, that'll be your reference image, as to the luminosity that you want, and whatever brightness level you want. And then you go all the way to the end of your images, and go up to settings, match total exposures, and it will run through all these images and do just that. And that's how you do it, except you just do it on your sun pictures. I think it's a good time to stop. We have company, and my dog is telling me all about it. This is a long video, but I hope you got something out of it. I hope your skies are clear. I hope the sun is shining, and folks just have an outstanding day. Thanks for watching, and if this helps you, click that you liked it, and if you want to subscribe, you'll know when I'm putting up another one of these videos. I promise in the future, try to say things faster or do these quicker, and I don't know how. I've been trying. So just bear with me. But again, have a good one.